There is a place hidden in the folds of forgotten maps, a place so remote that even the wind forgets to whisper its name. In the northeastern reaches of what was once the Austro-Hungarian Empire, nestled between dense, weeping forests. The last cartographer to chart its position vanished in 1884, and his journals, retrieved from a hollow tree by a priest in tattered robes, were written in a language no one remembered teaching him. An exile who came to Velburg not as a curious traveler, but as a broken soul chasing silence. The air was thick with a stillness that bruised the lungs. She served him thick black bread and silence. On his first night, Ludwig asked her why the villagers never smiled. She answered with her back turned, because smiles don't stay with the dead. Villagers stood along the edges of crooked lanes, their eyes reflecting neither suspicion nor welcome, only a kind of patient grief, as if they had long ago resigned themselves to some unbearable rhythm. He lit torches, threw water, beat against chests, and screamed into ears, but they were gone, every last one. Children stopped mid-play, mothers let their pots boil over, and the church bell rang not once but 7 times. They stood as though waking from light sleep, brushing dirt from their clothes, returning to their lives. The baker resumed kneading dough. The children continued skipping stones. The woman whose neck had been stiff with death only hours ago now leaned from her window and called out, "Good morning, Mr. Halver. Have you slept well?" Just stillness. "I don't want it to die again," the boy wept. The child closed his eyes, not with peace, but with terror. "It hurts." His mother knelt beside him, her face hollow. "We must," she whispered, "or the pain becomes real." Then silence. A silence so complete it felt alive, pressing against Ludwig's skull like invisible hands. He watched from his window as each villager knelt where they stood and whispered a single word into the ground. He could not hear the word, but he saw it pass like breath from their lips into the earth. Then, in solemn unison, they lay down and died. She simply handed him a cracked mirror and said, "Count your reflections." Their faces were pale, their voices hushed, and they all bore the same subtle wound, a small, spiral scar beneath the left ear, like the mark of a key turned slowly in flesh. Ludwig had buried 3 children and a wife whose laughter still echoed in the corners of his mind. He sought solitude, not answers. Not out of choice, but because the village does not let go once it has marked you. He began to study their pattern, documenting each death, each revival, noting subtle changes, the way their eyes grew darker each time, the way their voices flattened, memories misaligned. He learned that no one aged, no one birthed children, and no one ever left. Velburg was not a village, it was a wound that would not close, yet what he found was far more than he had bargained for. The journals told of a village where time unraveled, stitched together only by the cadence of death and resurrection. Every 7 days, the villagers died, and every 8th morning, they awoke again unchanged in body, but never in soul. In the unmoving gaze of black mountains, there lies a village that few have seen, and none have spoken of without trembling. The locals, those who dare remember, call it Velburg, a name that drips from the tongue like old wine, and decays in the air like a secret too long kept. No road leads cleanly to Velburg. You do not arrive there by accident or intention. It calls you only if you are meant to hear it. Our story begins in the year 1851 with a man named Ludwig Halver, a scholar of death. From the first moment Ludwig crossed the village threshold, a crumbling stone arch wrapped in vines like the arms of the dead, he felt time hesitate. Ludwig rented a room in the home of an elderly woman named Isolde, whose hands shook not from age but memory. On the 3rd day, Ludwig began to notice the ritual. At precisely dusk, the villagers ceased all movement. No struggle, no violence. Panic clawed at Ludwig's mind. He ran into the night, shaking bodies and shouting their names. But none responded. And then, just as dawn kissed the edge of the hills, they rose, not with gasps or moans, but with quiet purpose. Ludwig had not slept. His heart thrashed in his ribs like a trapped bird. He cornered Isolde, demanding truth. There was only one. But it blinked a moment too late, and so Ludwig remained. But the most terrifying truth came on the 7th week. As Ludwig prepared to record the next death, he saw a boy, a small, curious child with wild curls, refuse to lie down. Ludwig watched as she coaxed him into the earth, singing a lullaby in a language that tasted like rust. And it was then Ludwig understood death was the price they paid to avoid something far worse. What that was, he did not yet know. But he felt it watching,